I'm talking about what drives what drives you to eat emotionally today. I was going to say binge eating, but they're two different things. And I really want to start off by defining these two words so that we're talking about the same thing. So, in my mind, well, binge eating, it's when you consume large amounts of food in a very short period of time, and it's beyond the state of fullness. So, which is really interesting to say. I got full and I kept eating, which is different than emotional eating, which is eating in response to some emotion you're having rather than hunger. But I want to point out that neither one of those two things are about hunger. If I'm full and I'm still eating, that's not about hunger either. Now, I feel like this is why when people talk about these things, they end up mushing, squishing them together. And, you know, binge eating and emotional eating get talked about as if they're the same thing. They really aren't. And I just want to make that clear off the jump. And as a matter of fact, I'm talking about topics today that I know are going to like probably put me out of favor with being, being put in front of people. So I would really appreciate if you hit that like button if you are on board with this topic, because I think it's something that not enough people talk about. And at the same time, we're all trying to get to our healthy weight, and we're all trying to understand why we keep eating off plan. And so we have to talk about this if we're going to really fully understand why we eat off plan. Now, I'm going to start this by saying that keto is great and carnivore. But we're talking about it from the keto perspective today only because on a keto diet, you still eat vegetation. You still eat fruits and plants, and right. So that possibility is there. And keto is great because it helps us to resolve the physiological cravings by stabilizing our blood sugar, and carnivore does that too. And they both reduce the amount of dopamine hits that our brain is constantly getting that's associated with carbohydrates. But it's important to understand that we're still getting some. We're just not getting an amount that causes us to be out of control. Now, the blood sugar stabilization is also super important because these two things working together actually make it easier to address the underlying psychological stuff that's happening, right? If my blood sugar normalized, that extra dopamine and any other neurotransmitters that are getting to my brain when I eat sugar that cause me to chase it, if that's not happening, or at least not happening as much, so carnivore versus keto, when that gets diminished, the really important thing that happens there is that the physical part of this is gone. And so now it's the emotional part, the psychological part, the ideas, thoughts, and beliefs we have about food that cause us to eat when our body is not asking us for food that start to become potentially obvious to us. If we're looking for them, we're going to find them. So let's start looking for them. One of the things I like to point out is that we are all coming from a family, and that family has traditions about food, and that family, generally speaking, raised their kids a certain way. So mom and dad had ideas about food, grandma and grandpa, and maybe aunties and uncles, depending on how much each of these sets of people were involved in your life. These adults had ideas about food that turn around and shape the way that you as an adult today see food. So these ideas move forward. They pass forward. Now, when we are adults, we turn around and we teach these ideas that are in our head to our children, our grandchildren, our nieces and nephews. Some of the common behaviors that we teach. If you're good, you're going to get a treat. Could be ice cream, could be candy, could be, right, dessert after supper, which the flip side of that coin is if you didn't eat all your supper, no dessert for you. So we also punish by taking fun foods away, right? If you're at a party, it's okay to eat junk food. And now we're talking full on junk food. At a party, you can have pizza and burgers, and the kid can eat chips all night. It's okay, it's a party. If we do movies or baseball games or nights out with friends, eating junk food is no problem. Again, it's a special event. You can eat whatever the heck you want on a special event. These ideas are ideas that we actually believe about food. And the problem is, we've created an emotional connection between how my life is going and the type of food I'm eating. Now, when you become an adult, you don't get to have dessert because you didn't eat all your food goes away. As an adult, I can eat whatever the heck I want. As a matter of fact, I can have dessert for supper. I remember I had a friend in university, so we are both adults. She would always eat whatever dessert, so treat that she brought for her lunch before the lunch. All the time. And I thought that was so fascinating because, I mean, first of all, it goes against the rules, right? But also, it's like, am I actually now rebelling against even just eating what my body asked me for before I eat the thing that I brought along for fun? It talks about how stressful university was in my mind, right? That she was that stressed, that she was that no, but maybe no, because she did say she did that all the time, although she did have a stressful life. So I don't know. But I will point out that this eat dessert before the meal, if there are children brought into the story, what are they being taught? If life doesn't feel good, and I'm actually looking for food to correct that, then, sad might equal ice cream, cookies, cakes, whatever. Bored could look like run to the dépanneur, the corner store, run to the corner store for some chips and chocolate. I used to do that, Wellness Warrior. I remember when I was in my teen years and my friends were busy and I didn't have anything particularly fun to do, especially during the summer when you've got an entire 2 months off and some of my friends worked, so I didn't have access when they're at work. Those hours that I had nothing to do, sure, I'd go to the dépanneur, buy some junk food, or it was a few hours of something to do, right? It gave me so, and then and then we celebrate with food as well. Obviously, birthday parties are a celebration. There's a bunch of junk food there. But even something is like, you get a great grade, you get like 100% or something, or if you get a promotion at work, you want to go out for supper. So we've trained ourselves at every turn. Can we see where food can be part of what's happening? And I want to say the celebration with food is one of the biggest reasons that happy people don't think that they eat emotionally. If I'm in a good mood and then I want to kind of pat myself on the back for like, yeah, my life is going great, I'm going to get that little like, I should eat something. But of course, I'm happy. And if I'm doing keto, I might do something for myself like eat some healthy fruit, right? Have some raspberries or blueberries, right? Or maybe a keto-friendly bar. It doesn't always have to look granola bar when I was being good back in the day, like when I was being good and I had a great day. Emotional eating is not always because I'm upset. And this is where I think a lot of us get pulled into the story because we are so focused and we're going to be on track and we have our eyes on the goal. I'm doing this and I'm in a good place and my weight is dropping and I'm happy and I'm confused why I end up either eating too much healthy food or eating off plan. Everything was going amazing. Why did I do it to myself? Because you're happy and we celebrate with food. It really doesn't matter what puts you over the carb count, Wellness Warrior. What matters is that you went over. One of the most important psychological factors of overeating is that it consistently ignores that dopamine hit that we're getting from the sugars in the foods that we eat, right? That creates that compulsion. I'm eating these healthy keto things, but too much. And that compulsion starts to be there again because the dopamine is still happening. Even when you eat under 20 grams, the dopamine is still happening. And if I don't understand that, I'm going to make a mistake because I'm not going to see where I'm creeping up, right? Especially when you do things like fruit, because, well, fruit and artificially sweetened things. So let me look at those two things. Fruit and artificially sweetened things end up causing problems for us because they taste extremely sweet. And so, fructose, which when you eat blueberries, when you eat raspberries, that sweetness, even though the carb count is low, it's packing a big punch. And there's a lot of fructose in those fruits. Fructose is sweeter, like in taste, than than um, than glucose. That's the reason that they use it, right? Companies I'm talking about now. The reason that companies use fructose, so you have the high fructose corn syrup, is because it's extremely sweet. That and it doesn't show sugar. So when you go to your doctor and they're checking your sugar, that doesn't show. I don't know how we can even say that this is not purposeful, that companies are messing with us when they choose to use the sugar that's the sweetest that doesn't show in our blood when we go for checkups, which means that we're going to trust that their juices and their all their products that have fructose in them, high fructose corn syrup, all their products aren't problematic because look, your sugar levels are staying low. That's not how this works, Wellness Warrior. And I mean, there's so much understanding we have about the damage that fructose causes to our livers, but I'm not even talking about that right now. The taste of sweet in your mouth causes your body to put the sugar in your blood away as fat because it needs to make space for the incoming sugar. So eating things that are really sweet because of fructose, not a good idea. So we need to understand that these things are not harmless for that reason, but there's another reason that they're not harmless. As a matter of fact, there's another reason that the foods that we eat, especially when we eat fruit, especially when we eat garbage, when we eat these things, one of the huge reasons that that dopamine hit is a problem, and I'm going to use the example of if I were to go right after this video and have a glass of wine, I would be able to have one glass of wine after this video and not have any wine for the next year or so because I haven't actually had any alcohol in the past calendar year. No, that's not true. I had a glass of wine at New Year's, which was the first glass of wine that I had in, no, at two. So you see, I don't even drink that much. I can't even remember when I when I did. But before, it was before my anniversary that I had been a year. So I had 2 glasses of wine in the past like few months. Now, I'm not going to be bothered to not drink another glass of wine. I could now, I don't have a history of issues or problems with drinking. So if I have a glass, I can actually have 1 glass, walk away and be like, yeah, I had a glass. But Wellness Warrior, my rum loving friend who has had a drinking issue, but hasn't drank in the past year, chances are if that person has a glass of wine, they're on a bender. They're in trouble. All of a sudden, they're off the wagon and life is horrible for them again. You're much more likely to be careful about what you do and do not eat. So when you eat on plan and when you don't, when you understand that my history with food is what determines whether this thing I eat right now is going to take me off track for days or not be a problem. I know that the people that do well with their keeping their drinking under control do well because they make very good decisions about whether or not they can drink the drink. We are not making a good enough decision about whether or not the foods that we eat are falling in line with the keto way of life we're trying to do. And so right now I'm going to focus on keto because I want to point something out. As soon as you know that it's 20 grams of carbs or less, and you allow yourself to eat past 20 grams, you're not doing keto, which means that you've allowed enough food in for this to no longer be keto. It's like you drank the glass of wine. Add to that, what if your number isn't 20 like mine? So if I'm not paying even enough attention to what I'm eating, how much I'm eating, does it matter? If I'm not doing that for myself, well, now we have a new hiccup here, Wellness Warrior, because I'm not going to allow myself to even see that I shouldn't be eating up to 20 because my number was 18. Now, I know this, and I'm talking to you about this because I fell into this trap twice. I fell into this trap with cheese, and I fell into this trap with nuts. When it came to cheese, the reason I fell into the trap was I was happy about my weight loss, and I was happy with the meals I was making, and I was using cheese to make the meals more interesting. That was all about emotional. That was all about me trying to give myself the reward of cheese because look how great you're doing. I didn't gain weight because that's not my problem. My problem is always that I'm going to have joint pain or some kind of skin something or right. And that's what happened. When it came to nuts, why was I doing that? Every time I get upset, what's the first thing that comes to me? Oh, I want some nuts. I was using nuts to self soothe. I was using nuts to take care of myself, make myself feel better. And again, joint pain, skin issues. In order for you to do well, you need to let yourself see that emotional eating isn't just about upset eating. Emotional eating isn't just about, and binge eating isn't just about overdoing things either, because let's look at that for 5 seconds. When I'm eating, when I'm not hungry and I'm eating, something else is pushing that eating. And oftentimes there is a something's bothering me component. However, we also have this other piece of the puzzle. Eating until my stomach is distended also sends a signal to my brain. And like there's a part of taking care of me that says, hey, you have enough food to last you, to get you through whatever's going to come next. And sometimes people who lived financial struggles, maybe grew up in a household where there wasn't always enough to eat, that can be part of the problem. Flip side of the coin, take care of me, right? If I'm always being treated with garbage and I'm eating, so I eat my meal like a good little girl, and then I have garbage on top of that, and now my stomach's distended, and I've learned that that's the feeling of Violet's good. It's still partially emotional, but it's also excessive eating, and it's harming my health. And if we keep letting excessive eating harm our health, yeah, our weight goes up, but other problems happen, right? So we need to actually figure out how to address the root cause of why we overeat. I have a huge problem. I have a huge problem with programs that focus on behavioral modification only. You know, these things like when you think about eating junk food, you're going to snap a rubber band. Or when you think about eating junk food, you're going to say to yourself, no, that's not healthy for me, or some sentence that you don't actually believe and that you don't actually care about. And how do I know? Why am I saying you don't believe the sentence? I'm saying that, Wellness Warrior, because if I truly didn't think that that was healthy for me, I wouldn't even think about eating it. You do not think about eating Vaseline. The average person doesn't think about eating that. The average person does not have to tell themselves not to eat paper. Now, what about fun tasting things like the average person isn't just chewing down loads and loads of mint. Mint has a good flavor to it, but the average person isn't just sitting there eating a bunch of mint, right? Because in terms of food, that's not what we consider. We might use it to flavor something, but we don't just sit there and only eat that. The average person isn't just eating butter. Again, we're going to use it to cook the food, we're going to use it to flavor the food, but we don't just sit there and eat it. There's something about the eating of fun tasting things, first of all, but then there's also something about eating to take care of myself that comes together. And if we don't understand why we're eating what we're eating, we're not going to be able to ever address the overeating problem. We're never going to be able to address the eating off plan problem. So we will keep emotionally eating, binge eating in some cases, if we don't figure this out. Why are we doing what's underlying all this stuff? Now we talked about the my household and family of origin and all of that stuff, yes, is playing a role. But the other thing that you need to do on this worry is reflect on what is happening in the moment. When I think about, oh, I want some nuts, why did that come to me? Understanding why you crave certain foods at certain times is crucial. Today, till this day, when I end up thinking about getting some nuts, usually I'm upset about something. I'm not doing that from a happy place. But guess what? When I want cheese, yes, that's coming from a happy place. I'm usually having a totally fine day. I'm usually absolutely perfectly happy with everything that's happened, but a little cheese on my meat would sounds interesting for tonight. It's a way that I take care of myself. Both of these things are ways that I take care of myself. The problem is food is not supposed to be a way that you take care of yourself. Food is for, we're going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to tell you what food is for. I want you to identify the emotional triggers. So those could be past experiences as well. And they could be past experiences with food. It could just be past experiences that you solved with food. Both of those things can push you to eat. Like just honestly, not having enough food in my home. Of course, when I can afford to have food, I might be having too much. But getting into arguments with people that I lived with, and then self-soothing with insert food of choice there. Today it would be nuts. Back in my history, it would have been chocolate. Is going to mean that on my regular everyday, when I want to take care of me, chocolate's going to be one of the things, right? And it was often the thing because whether I was happy or sad, I gravitated towards chocolate. What about the family dynamics, right? Do people in your family see what you're doing and kind of comment and make you feel uncomfortable? And that uncomfortable feeling, normally you would have solved it by eating something. We need to get to the why we are doing the bad behavior, the eating off plan, bad behavior that we tell ourselves we don't want to do. Because if we see the why, then I can start actually solving the why. If my family member doesn't understand why I'm eating the way that I'm eating and keeps offering me cookies when I come over or soda when I come over, and maybe it's truly because they just don't get it, then I might take the 5 minutes to explain to them, look, I don't eat anything that comes in a package that has more than 5 ingredients on it, first of all. So that's going to eliminate most of the things that they're going to ever try to offer me. But second of all, helping this person to understand that I appreciate that you don't understand why I'm eating this way, but I have allergic reactions to whether I'm going to say sugar or I'm going to say certain chemicals in plants that cause me to react. And this is the thing I found works best for me. I don't eat anything from a package, and I eat very minimal fruits and vegetables, the ones that I figured out work for me, because I don't like my joints being in pain. Wellness warrior, if you know what you're trying to solve, my family member doesn't get it, then you're going to find the words to say to help them to stop stressing about offering you stuff. Because we have the other side of that coin where people will feel like you come in my house and I'm eating junk and you're just eating these healthy foods, making me look, insert what they're thinking about what they think you're doing, in which is not true. I'm eating for me, eat for you. Like what you put in your mouth is not going to change my day. What I put in my mouth is going to possibly ruin my day, my evening, my next day. Like, so I'm going to make sure that I eat the thing that helps me to feel good. And I mean, I was having one meal a day. And like, I'll tell you, so I was having one meal a day. It was during the time that the world was still suffering. So back in, 20, that, that 2019 thing. And here in Canada, Quebec maintained curfews. So the winter curfew, especially, but even like in the summer, there were so many restrictions. For 2 to 3 years, we were curfewed and masks and wash your hands and all the things like very strictly. And as a matter of fact, they just lifted the like some of the hospital stuff like five after 5 years. But anyways, like these things impacted how I was feeling emotionally, which then led to me while I was in the earlier part of my keto life on the nut chasing train because I didn't like how my life was, because I didn't feel like I could have enough fun. Because sometimes when there were holidays happening, so in winter, when there's holidays happening, like either we were being forced to not see each other as families or to like make these really small gatherings of pockets of family members getting together rather than the whole band of us, the whole group of us being able to come to. These things caused me not even just stress, sadness, anger, uh, like feeling like I was not in control of my life. And yes, all of those things impacted how much I was thinking about nuts, right? And I had a few slips during that period of time. Why? Because I was so overwhelmed. I had to actually realize that that was what was happening for me to get it to stop, Wellness Warrior. Society, first of all, the government is part of our society, right? And they got it. They had an opportunity where they controlled what was happening with our lives so much. It actually impacted me because even if I would have been a rebel and I would have been one of those people saying, I don't give a hot whatever, I'm not following these rules, I can't force other people to not follow the rules. So even if I would have wanted to do that, it wouldn't have happened. But flip side of the coin, because my family was following the rules and I'm following the rules and everybody's following the rules, 2 to 3 years of me struggling. Now, we're back to normal times. Everything's okay. Society still plays a role, right? It is normal to have a unhealthy relationship with food, right? People are going to tempt you. Like I said, you go to your friend's house. Oh, have this, have that. What do you mean you're not drinking today? What, you don't drink soda? When did that start? All the comments. People are not only going to tempt you, they're going to question you, they're going to put things in your face. You will constantly be surrounded by garbage, Wellness Warrior. If you choose not to indulge, maybe you end up feeling left out. That's a negative emotion. How do I take care of myself on that? So I might have the healthy thing that I can have, but do I end up having too much of it? Again, how I'm feeling is going to play a huge role in not only what I eat, how much I eat, how I engage with it, all these things. The foods are just all around us all the time. And they're not going anywhere anytime soon, Wellness Warrior. So that means that this environment that we live in absolutely is impacting your emotional eating. It has a negative impact on us for the most part until we figure out how to make it have a positive impact on us. And can I just point out that when you indulge in eating the garbage, right, or overeating the healthy stuff, you're mad at yourself. You're in pain if you're anything like me, or you've gained weight, which also I can do. You are failing despite the fact that you're trying so hard. And you're failing also because the world around you is setting you up to fail. The world around you is putting things in your way that you used to indulge. And if you let yourself indulge again, your history matters. Can I say that? Again, your history matters. You didn't just end up overweight or with metabolic issues or whatever problem is happening in your body. Your history with food impacts whether you eat the thing. Like I could tell my grandma could eat a cookie and just not care about it. Why? In her upbringing, cookies was not a thing that they had all the time. It was the treat once in a blue moon. As a matter of fact, my grandmother was in her, I think, 70s before she had her first slice of pizza. This was not food to her. It was this like, what is the stuff you guys eat? She saw us eating it, and then she would have real food. It's so important for us to truly understand that these things that we eat from our history, all this stuff, that's why you end up eating off plan. That's why you end up struggling. Your history with food matters. It's a vicious cycle, right? The holidays, the celebrations, and the situations that we get into, going out with friends, these are supposed to be occasions to connect with the people that you care about. And we use them as occasions to overeat, to emotionally eat, to celebrate with food, to have fun with food. Okay, let's talk about solutions because I want you to walk away with what to do today. You need first and foremost to see food as fuel and nutrients, like building blocks for the body. Food is what your body needs to build itself, repair itself, take care of itself, fix itself, whatever, however you want to word that. And food is what your body needs for energy to help you to move forward. So, definition of food: meat, fish, poultry, eggs, dairy if you can manage it. That's the definition of food that I want everyone in this to be understanding, whether you're a keto person or you're a carnivore person. What our body actually needs us to eat: meat, fish, poultry. Doesn't even need the eggs or the dairy. We, if you can manage them, have them. Doesn't need those two. It needs meat, fish, poultry, eggs. That's what our body, and their accompanying fat. Can I say that loud enough? And their accompanying fat. That's what your body actually needs you to have in order for you to be the healthy version of yourself. If you do that, if you give your body that, you'll be absolutely fine. You never need to eat a plant. If you're keto and you do eat plants, no problem. Eat under 20 grams of carbs per day. And make sure that whatever vegetation you choose to eat, Wellness Warrior, again, can't scream this from the ceilings enough. The lowest carb count possible, the least amount of sweet flavor possible. Those things together, those two pieces of information matter. If my body gets carbohydrates above a certain amount, dopamine hit, I'm back to chasing. I'm back in this story with food where I'm compulsive and out of control. Not a good time. If my mouth tastes sweet, even if it's zero sugar, even if it's artificial sweetness, if my mouth tastes sweet, back to chasing, because dopamine hit is going to happen, because my brain, my body is going to believe there's sugar coming in, and some of those processes just happen. Excitement, right? Woohoo, I'm getting the thing. But also, and here's the also, when that sweet taste comes in, my body's preparing me by putting sugar into fat storage so that I don't overwhelm my body with too much sugar in my blood, even though there's no sugar coming in if it's an artificial sweetener. But if it's, a fruit or something, yes, there's some sugar coming in. That sweet taste catalyzes all of these situations. Wellness Warrior, food is not supposed to be entertainment. It's not supposed to be an emotional crutch that helps you to get over problems in your life. Part 1, food is fuel and building blocks. Okay, part 2, identify your emotions, the triggers, the actions that happen in life that push you over the edge and cause you to start thinking about food in this way. Identify the happy scenarios that get you to think about food in this way. It's both sides of the emotional coin. I'm on vacation. This is a great time. Why would I worry about food? Because your body needs to build and repair itself and fuel itself efficiently every single day, no matter what's happening for you. Even on vacation, I ate on plan because on vacation, my body still wants to be healthy. You need to solve the real problem, Wellness Warrior. If you don't solve the real problem, you will keep making mistakes. You need to look at what happened just before you thought about eating garbage. You need to look at how was I feeling just before I thought about eating garbage. And then address that emotional thing with emotional responses, not food, or address that interaction you had with the world, with a person, with a whatever, with a solution that solves the interaction you had with the person, the world, with the whatever. If my car broke down, then I need to get insurance involved, and I need to, get it towed, and all those. Eating the chocolate bar that in my glove box is not going to help me. It's just going to make my life worse. It's going to make the situation worse for me. I want you to succeed. I want you to be at your healthy weight. I want you to feel amazing, Wellness Warrior. And I guarantee you, food companies don't care anything about that. They want your money. That's what they care about. So I I'm putting you I'm putting this in front of you. If you want to stop emotional eating this year, then you're going to focus on what I just ran through with you, right? Food is fuel. What made me upset? Solve that thing. Get on with life. There's a video that I'm going to link. I didn't link anything, but I'm going to link something later on. I was too excited to talk about this, and I couldn't think of what video I wanted to link to. Maybe the one on cravings. That's probably the best one to put it to. How do we solve these cravings? I go step by step of what to actually do in that video. And honestly, I also talk more in depth about why those cravings are getting you. So there's a bit more background information too. From you know what? Companies get us so many ways. They get us so many ways. This that we're living isn't the only way that they get us, right? There's more to it. So I'm gonna link that video later. I'll talk to you guys next Monday at 11:20, and have a great week. Take care of yourself. You're the one that needs to do it. So take care of yourself. And we'll talk again next week. And I'm going to bring you something else to put your mind around so that you can have a great day and a great week and a great month and a great year and a healthy body back. Let's do this.